Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. And welcome to the Piedmont Unitarian Universalist Church. Piedmont UU sits on the traditional land of the Catawba, Kiawe, and the Shukari peoples. My name is Ann Lakaitis, and I will be the worship assistant this morning for our service leader, Vanessa Sampson-Schneider. We are a flourishing, vibrant, and radically welcoming congregation that promotes diversity, inclusion, and social justice. We provide a safe haven for creative intellectual growth, spiritual development, and a deep sense of community for all who join us. We hope our liberal religious values will challenge you to join us as a community that lives boldly and acts justly. To all our visitors and members, we're very glad you're here, in person or with us online, and we hope to see you again. Your presence is a gift to us. A few announcements for this Sunday. Reverend Amy is away on study leave. If you have a pastoral care concern, please email joysandconcerns@puuc.org and contact bot@puuc.org for other issues. Today, we will hear from Vanessa about DRUMM, Diverse and Revolutionary UU Multicultural Ministries. For other important information about our vibrant community, please see your order of service, or if you are on our email list, please check our monthly newsletter and weekly announcements. Whatever brought you to this place at this hour, we welcome you. May you find something that you need, and may you leave richer in spirit than when you arrived.
Morning, y'all.
Good morning.
Y'all can do better than that.
Good morning. You did a good job.
Come on. So my name is Vanessa Sampson-Schneider, and I'm going to take a moment to talk to you about DRUMM. And so I am the newly appointed DRUMM group administrator here at PUUC. I'm also on the board. I also do worship assistant, and I'm also your lay leader today. So this hats, multiple. And so what is DRUMM? So DRUMM is a Unitarian Universalist people of color ministry and an anti-racist collective bringing lay and religious professionals together to overcome racism through resistance and transform Unitarian Universalism through multicultural experiences. So DRUMM stands for Diverse and Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministries. Now you can see why we just call it DRUMM. And it was developed from several older ministries, namely the African American UU Ministries, which predated what some of you might now know as BLUE, Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, and the Jubilee World Anti-Racism Change Trainings. And so DRUMM has a growing membership of UU people of color from the region, just all over the place. As an all-voluntary ministry, DRUMM continues to lead efforts to fulfill the journey towards wholeness resolution, towards becoming an anti-racist, anti-oppressive, multicultural UUA, and creating space for youth, young adults, and families of color as well, to heal and work collectively, and steward an effective organization that develops new leadership and manages consistent communication with members. So DRUMM is a collective of people who identify as people of color, like myself. Allies are welcome, and they organize under Allies for Racial Equity. And so DRUMM is grounded in the Unitarian Universalist tradition and maintains a close relationship with the UUA of congregations. And so what does this mean for PUUC? The PUUC Social Action Committee recently funded an annual DRUMM group membership for people of color here at the church. And we are permitted to have up to 20 individuals that identify as people of color. So these could be folks that identify as Indigenous, Asian, African American, Pacific Islander, Latinx, what have you. And so this is very exciting, and I'm hoping that people of color within PUUC will be a part of this new endeavor. And so DRUMM, with the consistent virtual, well, this is my idea, all right? So it'll have virtual and in-person meetings, social justice initiatives, and the ability for you people of color within the church to covenant with one another. And so if you have any questions about DRUMM, if you have any questions about Allies for Racial Equity or Equality, I can be able to get you to where you need to go as far as that information as well, because even if you can't join DRUMM, there is another group that you can join, and they work very closely with DRUMM, which is the Allies for Racial Equality. And then if you also have questions about becoming a member, just go ahead and shoot me an email. It's drumm@puuc.org. Once again, that's DRUUMM@puuc.org. Thanks. All right. And so now, I think we move into our chalice lighting. So, love is hard. Love for people, especially those who are different from you. Love that says, I see you as a person. Love that says, let your unique light shine in the world, because each of our souls touches the divine mystery. Love that says, we're on a journey together, and my fate is tied in with your fate. Love that grabs you and won't let go until your whole life is dedicated to siding with love. Love that changes the world. Love is hard. Do it anyway. So, please join me in singing the words to Lighting Our Chalice, the symbol of our faith. I didn't want it to be over. I didn't realize. I'm like still sitting here like, yes. Good job. Awesome. So please rise and body your spirit for our call to worship. And that's found in your order of service as well, just in case. So, we celebrate our desires to stretch our wings towards where we wish to fly and soar free.
And thus we make a bridge.
We affirm our commitment to remain connected to those who are still earthbound and captive, remembering that a bridge may be a footpath or an umbrella.
And thus we offer a bridge.
We acknowledge our own desires and also our interconnections with one another.
And thus we build stronger bridges.
Sorry, turning the page. And then we honor our own hearts and also the hearts of our neighbors, friends, and fellow inhabitants of this ever-perplexing world.
Thus we are the bridge.
And then we're going to remain standing for our opening hymn, 325, in your gray hymnal, and that's going to be Love Makes a Bridge. That was a hard one, y'all. It's okay. Be not afraid. We will do it again someday. So let's see. And so we have our time for all ages. Our little ones. And so if you're not familiar with the time of all ages, we have all our little ones and sometimes our big ones, if they want to sit on the ground, come forward and we read a story and we kind of talk about it. And this is going to be something that we'll all talk about today, not just the littles. So I appreciate shouts from the peanut gallery as well. Ta-da! Good morning, my friends. How are you? Hello, hello. Good morning, good morning. Oh, they're so adorable. I can't. Okay. You guys ready for a story this morning? Come on, Cosette. All right, so I'm going to tell a little story, and it's about how to be able to think a little differently and outside the box, even when people are giving you what you think is good advice. And so once there was a little girl who was about the same age as you, and she was a queen of an island. And as queen, she had an advisor that would give her direction and good advice on how to be a good queen. Oh, yeah. And then one day, her loyal advisor said to her, "My queen, the people on the island are good, but we must beware of the people on the next island, for they are our enemies." "Our enemies?" responded the queen. "How terrible." "Yes, it is terrible," said the advisor, "for our little island will never be safe. While we have enemies, we must find a way to get rid of our enemies." And the queen responded, "You know what? You are quite right. Do you have any ideas?" So what ideas might you have for the queen? Just shout them out. It's okay.
Visit the other island.
Visit the other island.
Have a barbecue.
Have a barbecue. That's always the answer. Food will make it happen. And so, any other ideas? Oh, what's that? I heard one. Play games. Send gifts. All right, these are some good ideas, guys. And so, the advisor said, "Well, I do indeed have an idea for you. We can take our army, put it on the ship, sail to the other island, and then our army can march on the shore and destroy the enemy." That doesn't sound great. And so the queen was not sure that that was a great idea. She said, "Thank you for sharing your ideas, but I need some more time to think. Can you come back tomorrow?" What do you think the queen might do between today and tomorrow?
Talk to some other people.
Change her mind? What else?
Have a barbecue.
Have a barbecue. That's always the right answer. Food. Have the cookout.
Talk to someone else.
Talk to someone else. Okay. And he said, "Yes, my queen," as he bowed and left the room. The next day, when the advisor returned to talk to the queen, he was shocked. What do you think he might be shocked about?
People from
No
the other
army?
island were with the queen.
People from the other island hanging out with the queen?
Barbecue sauce on the floor.
Barbecue sauce on the floor? How dare you? And so he was shocked because she was actually having tea with the queen from the next island. The advisor turned red with anger. "How can you sit here and drink tea with that person?" he shouted. "She's our enemy. We must get rid of our enemies." The queen looked at her advisor with eyes that were calm and steady. "You have been a good advisor." Sounds like you might not have a job because the word was have been. "You were right. We have to rid our enemies. You have to destroy the enemies, but you can't do that by conquering with an army. The best way to get rid of your enemies is to make them your friends." And so I wonder if you have ever had, you don't have to answer this one out loud, if you've ever had a conflict with someone that you thought was an enemy that eventually became your friend. All right. And so I thank you so much. Even though everybody was kind of like chilling and doing their own thing, it's all good. All right, and we'll just go ahead and sing the kiddos out. There we Thank you so much. I love story time. And you did a good job too. And so now, this is our time of ritual and sacred sharing, a time for sharing our joys and sorrows, our concerns and milestones. First this week, we light a candle for all impacted by recent incidents of Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, the ongoing struggle for civil rights in Iran, for a just peace between Israel and Palestine. All areas of violence around the world, and especially the war in Ukraine. At this time, you are welcome to come up and fill out a prayer card, which is on the table. Drop a stone in our shared water, which is here. Or light your own candle of joy or concern. So come forward, go around this way, and beware of the chair. Oh, someone moved the chair, thank you. And we light a few more candles for those things we hold in our hearts that remain unspoken, and for those joining us from elsewhere to honor what is in their hearts as well. I invite you now into a time of quiet rest, meditation, or prayer. As we follow the sound of the singing bowl into silence, after a moment of silence, we will have a musical meditation.
Let us turn to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for some direction regarding loving your enemies. So I want to turn your attention to this subject, loving your enemies. It's so basic to me because it is a part of my basic philosophical and theological orientation. The whole idea of love, the whole philosophy of love, in the 5th chapter of the Gospel, as recorded by St. Matthew, we read these very arresting words flowing from the lips of our Lord and Master. You have heard it said that it has been said, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that despitefully use you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven."
Thank you, Anne. I love me some MLK, always. And so today when I was thinking about this sermon, I was initially just going to go right into, bam, sermon. But I thought about a song that my mom, even though she's not the greatest singer, we say she makes a joyful noise. But when I was a kid, whenever this song would come on and we would be in the car, she would just belt this out as loud as she could. And I thought that it was very appropriate today. It's called the Shepherd Song. You say that you are my sheep. Weren't you following me? You say that I am your shepherd. want you following me. My sheep, when they hear my voice, they come running to me, and you say, I am your shepherd, want you following me. I told my sheep to visit the sick and take the stranger in. And when you see someone who's naked, use your wool to cover their skin. And you say, I am your shepherd, want you following me. And my sheep, when they hear my voice, they come running to me, and you say, I am your shepherd, want you following me. I told my sheep to love one another, even your enemies too. But you have love for only those who have their love for you. And you say, I am your shepherd, want you following me. And that's Mama's favorite song. And I always get a little choked up, as you can see, when I sing that song because, well, I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, and not like regular Southern Baptist. This is like black Southern Baptist. Like, you at the church an hour before the service is 3 hours, you done an hour after for fellowship, black church. So, a lot of times when I do sermons, I can't help but reach back into my roots of being in that church, right? It was Philadelphia Baptist Church right there on Moncrief Avenue in Jacksonville, Florida, where I grew up. And it was a very, very loving, giving, fulfilling place to be. And I remember one day, the little boy and I call him little boy, at the church hit me. And even though I was in my Sunday's best, I think it was Easter, I had my little hat on, I was ready to go. And he hit me, and I threw that hat off and beat him down in that church. And my mom, she was so embarrassed. She was like, Nessa, you ain't have to beat him like that. And I said, well, I did, and now he's my enemy, and I don't even like him like that. And she said, well, that's not what we do here. We don't strike out on others. We turn the other cheek. I'm 8 years old, y'all. I don't know what that means, okay? I was like, well, he turned the other cheek because I hit him in both sides of his mouth. So it took me some time to understand what that meant, to turn the other cheek. So in the book of Luke, chapter 6, verses 27 to 28, it is written, but to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. That's a mouthful. So we respond well to the idea of loving others that reciprocate our love. We especially love people who express feelings of appreciation and gratitude just for our very existence, just because we are here. But what about the person that doesn't love you? who could not care less about your existence. And yes, it is could not care less, not could care less. So just that one always gets me. I could care less. No, it's couldn't. It's couldn't. I'm sorry, it's the English teacher in me. Or those who may even hate you without even knowing you. What do we do with them? As society has taught us, you either discard them, you ignore them, you engage in name-calling and mudslinging. We've seen a lot of that lately, have we not? Or you hate them back. Rarely do we attempt to embrace those that may have hurt us, either intentionally or carelessly, either through ignorance or just plain out meanness. Let it be their words, let it be their actions, let it be their inactions, or with their fist. So another thing about me that a lot of people don't know is that I grew up in a very abusive household until I was about 10 years old. And so I won't go into all of the details, but my father was the perpetrator of the abuse in my childhood home. And no one was unscathed from this abuse, particularly my mother. When I was in 5th grade, my mom decided to move us to a domestic violence shelter to start a new life in a new city. I was scared, so was she. We started that new life free from abuse. Finally, we were away from my father. Time went by, and our family began to flourish. And then, when I turned 14, I learned that my father was dying from cancer. So initially, my 14-year-old self thought, oh, this must be what karma looks like. That good old adage of, you reap what you sow. I was angry with my father. Now, I'm going to scratch that. I hated my father. And I created a comforting narrative to justify that hatred. I remember the day he died. I cried hot, angry tears filled with that hatred. Tears of what could have been, tears of what should have been. And several days after the service, my mother asked me, how was I feeling? My 14-year-old self, because of teenage angst, thought that was a stupid question. But it wasn't. She just wanted to check in. And I remember telling her, I hate him. I hate him for everything he's done. And at 14, I said, and now his ashes get to roll around the Georgia hills, and I'm stuck here in hell. 14, lots of anger. She did not scoff at me. She did not scold me. She did not reprimand me. All she said to me was, don't let your daddy rule you from his grave. I'm no Martin Luther King Jr., but at that moment, I understood. By allowing my father to rule me from the grave, and my continuing to navigate the world through a lens of hatred, I would never be able to thrive or reach my full potential. The hate you give will tear down all the love you attempt to build before you can get the stakes put down, before you can even survey the land. You cannot build a structure of love on a foundation of hate or indifference. I often bring this impossible feat to my clients' attention by saying, resentment and hatred is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Now, notice that I said nothing about forgiveness or forgetting in this, but now I am saying something. And so when we talk about the actions of others that have wronged you, I don't necessarily believe you have to forgive or forget a heinous deed to build self-love for yourself or others. Inner peace that spills out into the world is what our goal is. And however you get there, that's your personal journey. be it therapy, be it nature, be it whatever it is that you need in order to be able to move past what has happened to you. So you may ask, how do you show love to those who do not love us? Or even worse, they may not even love themselves. We lean into love and compassion and hope. This is not the juncture to fight fire with fire. We often hear that, don't we? Oh, they did you wrong? Match them. Fight fire with fire. But think about it. When a firefighter responds to a typical house fire, they do not put the fire out with fire. They use water. It's a neutralizer. And no one cares if that fire was intentional or unintentional at the onset. They just want to put the fire out. So ideally, the water will stop the flames from spreading to other homes and potentially save what we can of the home that was initially set ablaze, thus giving a chance to rebuild anew. So, in July of last year, 2023, I stood before this same congregation and I gave a sermon on love being the greatest commandment of all. I loved that sermon. I hope you did too. During that sermon, I read from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, where Jesus preached to his flock. And I want to stop there for a second because you probably noticed in the shepherd song, he said, "My sheep." This is another thing that you typically see, especially within the Black church, is that the congregation is normally referred to as the flock. Okay? These are the people that follow you and do God's bidding. Okay? So when we talk about the flock, that's what I'm referencing. So, he said, love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy or boast, it is not arrogant or rude, it does not insist on its own way, it is not irritable or resentful, it does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. At the time, I spoke about agape love, which is what I'm also speaking about today. Agape love is what Jesus was encouraging his flock to aspire to. Well, we're UUs. We don't identify ourselves as a flock. We are very stout individuals coming in with our own thought processes and our own mind, and we do not typically think about ourselves in that fashion. But what if we did, just for this moment? Just humor me, okay? Love and compassion for all, including those that will never cross paths with you, including those that disagree with you, including those that on the surface appear incapable of giving or receiving love or compassion. And so at this point, you might be thinking to yourself, well, what's the point, Vanessa? If this person doesn't like me, and if this person is this way, then they'll never change. Well, as the prolific author Bell Hooks asserted, and I love me some Bell Hooks, so if you have not heard of her, seen her, viewed any of her writings, please do, because she is a phenomenal, phenomenal woman and author. But she once asserted, once you do away with the idea of people as fixed, static entities, then you see that people can change, and there is hope. So believing in redemption of others just as much as we believe in redemption of ourselves when it comes to loving our enemies is vital. We are imperfect, but grace is what makes our ability to be able to do this. It's our guiding force. And so, as I learned as a young person, and as I have learned numerous times after that, even into adulthood, even into just yesterday, when you think of people as not being able to grow or change, you actually stunt your own growth. If I think you can't change, then how can I change? Ponder on that for a moment. So as UUs, we say we fully embrace and believe in the inherent worth and dignity of each person. But what strings do you have attached to the inherent worth and dignity of every person? I love you because you're a liberal and not a conservative. I love you because you're a humanist UU and not a Christian UU. I love you because you fit my idea of right, and everyone and everything else in my peripheral is wrong. That lets us know that we may have some strings attached. If you hear that a fellow UU is a Republican and you cringe, you might have some strings attached. If you hear that a person still believes in a God, but is also a UU, and you cringe, you might have some strings attached to what you consider as loving one another. And believe me, we have both, probably in this congregation. So, please do not misunderstand me. This is important. We cannot perpetually place ourselves in harm's way of bigotry or ignorance to wait on another person's light bulb moment. So this is one of those things that people may be like, well, Vanessa, if I'm supposed to turn the other cheek, how many times do I turn the other cheek? You only got two cheeks, okay? And so this does not mean that you perpetually turn the other cheek. What this means is that sometimes I may have to love you from a distance, but I still love you. I will always continue to love you because you are another living being. But sometimes I can't love you close up. You might have to be a little far away. Anyone ever heard of Tupac Shakur? Cool, I'm glad you have. And so most people think of him as just like a gangster rapper from California, you know. But Tupac has some very, very influential and prophetic words. And one of my favorite sayings from him is that just because you lost me as a friend doesn't mean you gained me as an enemy. I'm bigger than that. I still want you to eat, just not at my table. And so what will you do today to build that bridge with those who you may describe as your enemies? Or maybe you feel like you don't have any enemies. What can you do to reach out to someone that may see you as the enemy? How do you bridge that gap? How do you reach across the proverbial aisle? Now that, my friends, I cannot answer for you. That is something that you have to reflect on and ask yourself, what are you willing to do? One of the things that I found super helpful is I'm actually neither Democrat or Republican. I'm a Green Party member, okay? And so I found it interesting to be able to talk to Republican and Democratic friends and try to understand their thought processes around social justice, the economy, just general things. And you'd be surprised by how very different everyone thinks, right? Or being able to ask yourself, if you so happen to be what they describe as a boomer, I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but if they describe you as a boomer, maybe that might be an opportunity to talk to someone who's a millennial or from Gen X or Gen Z even. Oh, goodness. They got a lot to say. As a matter of fact, my son, he grew up in the UU Church. And I remember one of his favorite sayings would be, just burn it to the ground. I was like, woof. Just burn it to the ground. Let's start over. And so, very interesting, because as an old millennial, I'm like, well, no, we still got to have a place to go. We can't just burn it to the ground. He was like, we got camping equipment, don't we? I was like, oh, okay. So what will you do to expand your mind and love your enemy or a person who may see you as thus? How will you love one another, even your enemies too? And so another song, hopefully I won't cry on this one, but I remember this being sung at, I guess it was maybe 2017, 2018, at a General Assembly. If y'all haven't been to General Assembly or heard of General Assembly, I encourage you to attend one in person at least one time as a UU. I've had the fortunate opportunity to go to 3. And I just love General Assembly. So if you ever get the chance to go, just go. And one of the things that was happening at that General Assembly was a lot of conflict, particularly around Black Lives or Unitarian Universalism. It was the first year that they were really big at General Assembly, and a lot of people had a lot of problems with that. And I remember that one of the members in blue, they sung a song, and they said, I pray for you, you pray for me, I love you, I need you to survive, I won't harm you with words from my mouth, I love you, I need you to survive, it is His will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. And it was so beautiful. And that person just turned and walked away. But that's okay. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like when you're loving your enemy, as opposed to just turning away and writing them off as such. That person didn't come back, but we knew we had instilled the seed. Blessed be. Namaste. Go now in peace.
Amen.
Thank you, Susan. This is a time for giving. Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for which we are now the keepers of the dream. This month, we are sharing our offering plate with Common Cause North Carolina. Common Cause North Carolina is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They work to create open, honest, and accountable government that serves the public interest, promote equal rights, opportunity, and representation for all, and empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. We ask that you place your gift in the baskets as they make their way around the room, and you are always welcome to give online at puc.org or by texting PUC at the number 73256. Today's offering will now gratefully be received.
It's all right, y'all. Don't be afraid to touch that basket when it come around. It won't bite you. And so as always, we thank you for the gifts contained within these baskets and for all the gifts you offer this beloved community. We thank you most for all the gifts of your presence, whether in person or joining us virtually. Please rise in body or spirit for the closing hymn, which is still in the gray hymnal, only a few pages back. It's 318, We Would Be One. Some strong vocals, you guys, some strong vocals. All right. And so, before we extinguish our chalice, I offer thanks to all the many volunteers who helped make our worship service possible. And we ask before you leave today to please place your hymnals back on the cart near the piano. And let us take a moment to give thanks, either in our hearts or with our words, for the things in life for which we are thankful today.
Grateful for the sunshine and the rain as well.
Yes, sunshine and rain simultaneously. What else? Don't be shy.
Thank you for sharing. I'm thankful for you sharing those songs.
Oh. Oh, thank you so much.
And your message and agape love.
Oh, thank you for the message and agape love. For the music. Yes. Darlene and Suze. Good job. Anything else? Okay. To having enough. All right.
Community.
To community. Oh yeah, for sure. For the the inside weather. For sure. And so I usually don't call people out like this, but do we have folks in the room that's been here less than 3 times? Just raise your hand. You don't have to shout. Cool. I thank you for coming and then coming back again and then coming back one more time and then coming back next week. Okay. Thank you. And so I thank you all for listening to me and letting me share my viewpoints and thoughts regarding agape love and loving one another, even your enemies too. And so now we will have a reading to extinguish our chalice. Loving Creator, beyond our understanding, yet closer than our breath, breathe into us your love so that we may love ourselves and others as you do. Help heal the fear, hate, and judgment that wounds so many. Help us know deeply and certainly that your love transcends all labels, all categories, all words. Your love is. Your love rains down on us all. Everyone is invited to your table, but sometimes you gotta love them from a distance. We each bring our whole and broken parts and come together in your love, which binds us and heals us all. Amen. Namaste, and blessed be. And so we now extinguish this chalice, but we carry its light, its warmth, and its meaning with us until the next time that we meet. May we go in peace, believe in peace, create peace, wherever we wander, and may it be so.